Coming up on this week's edition of NTV's Grow, billions lost at the hands of tariffs. We hear from a Nebraska woman who took the lead on trade. Ethanol on the rise. How much more of the corn-based fuel is being made here in the Cornhusker state? And we'll have tips for farmers getting ready to hang up the keys to the tractor and harvest their retirement. It's time to grow. The trade war is having an impact not only on the farm but across Nebraska. Nebraska Farm Bureau says tariffs could be costing the state $1 billion. Steve White has more on what's next from a local woman who led the charge on trade.
Trade is an abstract thought for many of us, but for farmers, the impact is very real.
It's just kind of scary not knowing where we're going to be.
As he jokes with guys he hasn't seen in a while, Craig Grams doesn't look scared. But on the ground he farms with his brother, he's hesitant to bring the next generation back.
And you always worry about your kids. It's like, do you want to punish them with this?
Uncertainty is costly.
Darcy Vetter spent years as one of the lead negotiators for the Obama administration and now watches as President Trump starts over.
Each year we wait to have these deals done is a year that U.S. products are more expensive going into those markets than the products coming from our competitors.
Speaking to the ACE Summit just minutes from her dad's farm, Vetter gives President Trump credit for singling out China, but questions the timing.
One of the statements that this administration has made about getting tough on China is that the time was right to do it because the economy was doing well and we had a cushion there to use to get tough. Well, the ag economy hasn't had a cushion for many years now.
Craig Grams was optimistic he'd make money on soybeans last year, then China retaliated with tariffs. Still, he stands with President Trump.
I understand what he's doing. I agree with what he's doing. It's just kind of painful right now, and who knows, it might be better than it ever has been when it's completed.
Vetter sees some promise the current administration is negotiating with Japan and others, but she says the deal will be no better than the TPP she was negotiating.
What are we going to do to replace that? And what is the strategy to go on offense again and get new markets for U.S. farmers?
Vetter agrees with the Trump administration that China is engaging in unfair trade practices. However, she believes the U.S. would be better served by working together in a coalition with our allies instead of going alone with tariffs. Steve White, NTV News, Grand Island.
Taxes and trade top the list as Nebraska Farm Bureau sets the group's priorities for the year. Number 1, reducing Nebraska's over-reliance on property taxes while seeking a more balanced system to fund education. Also on the list, growing Nebraska's livestock sector and value-added agriculture. Plus, Farm Bureau wants to expand broadband service. On the national side, expanding markets through trade is the top priority, along with reducing unnecessary regulations and working for regulatory reform and defending animal agriculture production and supporting policies to enhance profitability. E15 and workforce issues are also on the list. Some growing news for Nebraska corn farmers: production capacity of ethanol is on the rise. According to a UNL study, that capacity increased by 23% since 2014. It also mentions that over the course of just 3 years, Nebraska saw an increase of 481 million gallons of ethanol produced and an additional 152 jobs created. Governor Pete Ricketts announced this past week he'd back brewers on March 1st with simultaneous events in Omaha, Lincoln, and Grand Island. Raise Glasses Not Taxes aims to raise awareness about Breezy's bill, as well as State Senator Kurt Friesen's LB 497. Friesen says revenue needs to be raised.
And I'm a fan of the craft beer too, and we'll work with them. But again, we all know how this is going to play out, so we kind of know which everybody's staking their spots. But again, if we don't raise some revenue from somewheres, and we're open to looking anywhere, and between Senator Breezy's bill and my bill, we've got numerous options out there, and it's just where we go with it. And if we do not want to raise any revenue, then we're not going to have any property tax.
Hemp in Nebraska was before the legislature's Agriculture Committee on Tuesday. The bill, if passed into law, would set up framework for growing hemp in the state. Lauren Coomer spoke with a man who testified at the hearing and has more from the senator who introduced it.
These plants behind me are hemp plants that grow naturally by Mother Nature. They sprout in the spring, grow throughout the summer, and then die off after the frost. But they're self-sustaining because of the thousands of seeds they produce. Dr. Alan Jenkins, an economics professor at UNK, testified at the hearing regarding hemp in the state.
Education is key and economics is the driver. We have to do something, or our ag producers are not going to make it. 80% lost money last year. 5 bad years in a row. How much longer can they hold on?
Dr. Jenkins says the Nebraska Hemp Act, LB 657, would set up the framework for growing hemp in Nebraska, making rules for how the plant is grown, handled, and stored through a licensing process.
We really are pushing our ag producers into a spot where it's very difficult to make money. So hemp would be one viable alternative crop. Again, not for everybody. You're not going to go out and plant hemp by the thousands of acres. There's a learning curve.
Federally this year, the Farm Bill makes a distinction between hemp and marijuana. Dr. Jenkins says it's now up to the states to change their laws on it.
Cannabis is an ancient plant. Humans have been growing it for thousands of years. There are some strains of cannabis that have a lot of psychoactive THC, that's marijuana. But the other strains that don't have the psychoactive THC, those are hemp.
Senator Justin Wayne introduced the bill and says the proposed regulatory program would allow Nebraska farmers and manufacturers to grow and process a crop for which there is a surging market. And Dr. Jenkins says that there is, as hemp is used for a variety of things.
You can use it to make building products, you can use it for food. You can use then the oils from that hemp, you can use the seeds, or you can extract the CBDs, which can be used for all kinds of personal care products.
Although hemp is an ancient crop, we're still unsure of its future here in Nebraska. We'll find out in early spring what legislators have decided. Lauren Coomer, NTV News, Kearney.
This weekend marks a huge time for ag in central Nebraska with the annual Cattlemen's Classic. Tiffany Maddox has more.
Although the expected snowfall slowed people down this weekend, not even the weather could stop participants from showing up for the 2019 Cattlemen's Classic. Ronette Heinrich, the event manager, says she and her staff were a little worried early morning Sunday.
You know, the weather slowed people down and we were really nervous this morning with the bad roads, but as you can tell, a great crowd came in here to enjoy their day.
It was the draft horses that brought out the crowds, many teams competing while onlookers cheered. Heinrich says aside from the draft races, there's other events for the whole family to enjoy.
We've got a great commercial trade show, and there's something in our trade show for everyone. From the vehicles are here, feed companies, different tools ranchers can use on the ranch, as well as there's some great shopping here for the ladies. And really the Classic prides themselves on being an event for cattlemen of all ages.
Like 16-year-old Bailey Lichty, she's been showing cows since she was 8 years old. She says coming to the Cattlemen's Classic over the years has helped her make a career choice in agriculture.
It's pretty much the best thing I've ever been involved with. It's, you know, my passion. It's what I want to do with my life.
Lichty and her cow, Isabel, were part of a demonstration for children who also show cattle. She says she spent a lot of work preparing.
They're going to take her in and do an ag demo where they fit her and get her ready to show for all the kids.
The Classic is always focused on the youth. This year, the Classic staff have a new program to offer.
We actually are starting a new Aspiring Young Cattleman program here this year at the Classic. It's a new mentoring program where kids have the opportunity to network with established ranchers, and they will learn about their program, they'll learn about genetic data, they'll actually receive a heifer at this year's Classic. They'll take that heifer home with them, show them, be a part of the educational process. They'll bring the heifers back to next year's Cattlemen's Classic where they'll show and sell their heifers.
Heinrich says providing tools to the youth will provide more educated ranchers in the future. NTV News, Tiffany Maddox, Kearney.
Now let's look at the results of our question of the week. For cow-calf producers, the vast majority calve in the spring. You can see the results on your screen. We're talking trade and soybeans next on NTV's Grow.
Hey, hi, I'm Terry Christensen from North Loop, Nebraska, and you're watching Grow on NTV.